CTV's W5. An overwhelming scourge just steps away from Parliament Hill.
It makes you afraid for your children. It makes you afraid to walk the street.
A dirty and dangerous crisis sweeping through the capital of Canada.
It's disgusting that the capital of Canada has been allowed to turn this rancid.
What is that you got in your hand there?
That's a crack pipe.
Paula Todd.
How long since you did your last hit?
With an addicted population mushrooming in Ottawa.
It's ruined my life.
The frustrating fight for inundated neighborhoods.
You can't walk down the street without a drug dealer approaching you.
And the grim surprises behind many rundown doors.
Look at this. Come here. You're not going to believe this.
And
you're a slut, you're a whore, you're fat.
Children under attack electronically.
You're dead.
Websites and cell phones, the weapon of choice with haunting and sometimes deadly results.
The impact is absolutely devastating.
The numbers are shocking.
Sandy Rinaldo.
Why do you think no one was able to help you?
With the scars for victims in a merciless playground.
The comments, the photographs.
And the adults left to make sense of an often vicious virtual world.
Just because your child looks physically safe sitting in front of a computer monitor, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are.
This is CTV's W5. Here is Lloyd Robertson.
Welcome to W5. Think of our nation's capital, and images of Parliament Hill, the ceremonial changing of the guard, and skating on the Rideau Canal probably come to mind. But there's another side to Ottawa, a side that few like to talk about and police have to deal with every day. Parts of Ottawa's downtown core have now become overrun with drugs, crime, and prostitution. As W5's Paula Todd discovers in this report, what's happening in Ottawa is nothing short of a capital shame.
It's morning on Parliament Hill.
The government sits on this side.
School kids are on tour, getting a lesson in Canadian history.
And the opposition sits facing them.
Oh, good morning, sir.
Down the hall, bureaucrats attend committee meetings.
Those guidelines should be
and our elected officials pontificate on the important issues of the day. But there's one subject they don't like to talk about. It's the trouble in their own backyard. Homelessness.
Oh.
Drunks.
Stay there, Ian.
Junkies.
Step out of the cart, you're under arrest.
And hookers.
Solicitation for the purpose of prostitution.
Surrounding the Parliament buildings are some of the meanest streets in the country.
So this broken thing right here is your crack pipe? Yeah. Is that why you're out here, because of the crack?
Yeah.
Get in the car there, darling.
Crack cocaine use has skyrocketed in the nation's capital. It's like two worlds colliding. The pretty and picturesque Byward Market with the charming street stalls attract families and tourists out on a day trip downtown. At night, it's a different world.
The crack cocaine, I think this shit, yo. How we doing it?
Welcome to the dark side.
Yeah, that was crack, mother.
These images were taken from a stolen cell phone.
Let's see the pipe, man.
Addicts showing off, taping themselves, smoking crack.
I think I'll hit it again. All right, excellent. Shit.
Police watch and wait on the other side of the street as addicts smoke crack all night long.
See in the alleyway? There, he just lit it up. He just lit it up.
Keep your hands in your pockets. Open your mouth. Roll your tongue. How about pipes?
Still smoking.
So hot, eh? Right in front of a church. It's church property.
Can't be smoking crack in here.
Go sign in.
It's like a constant cat and mouse game. Police catch the addicts smoking, but usually there's no arrest.
Why do I let them go? Well, if you can see here, that's where they'll be putting the crack in. As soon as they see us, it just sits in there. So basically, they hit it. And I tried to find it on the ground, but I don't have any of the drug itself. All we caught them was actually smoking the drug. So we need some kind of substance in order to lay a charge.
If crack kills, the homeless shelters are the killing fields. As the number of addicts explode, they feel the brunt of this street scourge. Shelters are packed to the rafters every night. Addicts sleep in the halls or in makeshift dorms in the chapel because there's nowhere else to put them. In the morning, the dealers will be at the shelter doors or in the street with fresh supplies of drugs. There's no shortage of potential customers here. Easy prey for the drug dealers constantly in their face.
As soon as you walk out the doors, I mean, there's just crack. It's right there, accessible, and everyone's smoking it, and everyone's asking you if you want some, or if you want to buy some, or if you have any.
Crack cocaine flooded Ottawa's downtown streets 3 years ago when the price dropped from $10 to about $3 a hit. At the Ottawa Mission, Diane Morrison remembers only too well when crack changed everything on the street.
The community, the businesses, and all the people in this area and the shelters were just reeling with the results of that, which meant there was a lot of crack in the shelters. The behavior of the people that were taking crack was erratic, and we were dealing with issues that we hadn't had to deal with in such numbers before.
Staff Sergeant Paul Johnston and Constable John Gibbons took me on a tour of the neighborhood, including the street they call the vein of addiction.
As you're walking along, you can see some of the needles and and you see areas becoming into a gated community, so you can see a needle being discarded right there. So you see that up and down the street. We're the only ones that are out here at 2, 3 in the morning sometimes, and we may be arresting him one day, and the next day we're taking care of him and bring him to the hospital or bring him down to one of the shelters.
Johnston and his officers know most of the locals on a first-name basis, like Mike, who's had a 20-year journey from cocaine to heroin, and now methadone and crack.
It's a horrible drug, and it brings the worst out in people. I mean, you know, someone who's straight and he's not doing it, he can be the nicest guy, but as soon as he does the blast, he'll steal from his mother.
Just to get it.
Just to get it.
What is that you got in your hand there?
That's a crack pipe. That's what everybody uses on the street.
So what do you do with it?
Well, you put your screen in here and you just light it up and you smoke from this end.
How long has it been since you did your last hit?
Half hour ago.
Half an hour? How about you?
10 minutes.
10 minutes? How long do you guys have before you have to do it again?
Oh,
usually 5 seconds after.
Yeah, you want
like
to.
Right now, you both want to do it again.
Oh, I would like to do another blast. Yeah.
And do you know Paula?
Paula is a prostitute.
Yeah. How long have you been doing crack?
19 years.
19 years here?
Halifax in here.
And how fast did you get addicted to it?
Right away, as soon as I did the first call.
How much does it cost to get enough crack during the day to keep you all right?
I spend anywhere from $50 to $500 a day.
A day.
Yeah.
And how much money can you make on the street?
From $50 to $500 a day.
Police say most female crack addicts prostitute themselves to pay for their habit. The men panhandle in the Byward Market or steal. Street crimes such as theft and shoplifting have soared, but police are working hard to fight them.
Do you hate your life?
Of course, every second of it.
Yeah, we all do.
You hate every second of your life?
Yeah. Plenty of times I want to end it, but I just kind of turn my back and say, oh, hopefully the next minute's going to be better, you know? But it doesn't get any better. This is it.
Does it ever feel
frustrating? It's frustrating at times. When we're dealing with the same person, we get the same promise every day. This is the last time you're going to see me using crack. This is the last time you're going to arrest me. This is it. Thank you for arresting me. It's done. And then we get that same broken promise every day. It's frustrating.
No tour of the neighborhood is complete without a visit to a local crack house. This one just 2 kilometers from Parliament Hill.
Police!
The house is empty and completely destroyed.
Police! Come out now!
Look at this. Come here. You're not going to believe this. There's needles everywhere. There's nothing left of this building.
That's not unusual.
What's happening? Why are they doing it?
Well, it usually starts off with you get 1 or 2 tenants in here that are legitimate tenants, and maybe there's one that's addicted, and then they bring their friends, and then it becomes an apartment takeover or a house takeover, and they bring in their friends and more friends. The good tenants leave, and the bad tenants remain, and their friends stay, and then all of a sudden it becomes so overwhelming, the neighbors start to notice activity, and the neighbors are realizing that they've got a problem next door.
Downtown resident Chris Grinham found out what it was like to live near a crack house.
We had drug runners every 15 to 20 minutes going back and forth on bikes. We had drug addicts in the neighborhood. We had drug dealers in the neighborhood. We had fights. We had crime. It attracts all the negative elements, it really holds you hostage. It makes you afraid for your children. It makes you afraid to walk the street during the day, let alone at night.
Now, to keep the neighborhood kids safe, he cleans the streets of dangerous, discarded needles that the addicts use to inject cocaine, crack, morphine, and heroin.
I collected this in about 6 weeks in this neighborhood.
And here, among the growing crime and crack addicts, are some of Ottawa's most elegant and historic homes.
I mean, you can't walk down the street without a drug dealer approaching you.
Neighbors and business owners told W5 what it's like to live in Ottawa's downtown core.
I reported about 100 different incidences, be it from drunks, from finding kids on my front doorstep smoking pot, to people dealing drugs, to people being very aggressive towards me without any invitation and being told that if I didn't like living in my neighborhood, then I could leave.
Put it this way, we live in most beautiful historical part of Ottawa and Canada. Honestly, in my opinion, even fathers of Confederation will turn up in their graves if they would know what's going on in our street.
We wanted to speak with modern-day federal politicians about the drug problem in their neighborhood. All of them we called, including tough-on-crime Minister Stockwell Day, said they were too busy to speak with W5. That doesn't surprise local residents.
Well, here you are in the shadow of Parliament Hill. Do you ever see the politicians walking through your neighborhood?
I've never seen anybody come from Parliament Hill. I have cleaned up needles in and around Parliament Hill, though. So the addicts are going to the Hill, but I've never seen any of the people from Parliament Hill come down to our part of town. I think it's disgusting that the capital of Canada has been allowed to turn this rancid.
Next,
Face that way.
furious battles,
Don't make any stupid moves.
a controversial solution,
Handfuls of pipes being given out to people.
and the man who's ultimately in charge.
Premier, how concerned are you about the crack and crime problem in your hometown of Ottawa?
When CTV's W5 continues.
It's St. Patrick's Day in Ottawa. If there's someone who's hell-bent on saving Ottawa's downtown core from destruction, it's Police Chief Vernon White. He's been on the job less than 1 year, and he doesn't like what he sees.
I was absolutely shocked last February when I came here to meet with the board and accept the job. I was shocked at what I saw in the market.
But we don't have that much graffiti down here, as you see, eh? Tell you the truth.
He's the sort of chief who wants to find out what's going on in the streets for himself.
All it is a place for them to hang around. I watch them going in here, taking turns smoking crack.
How much you smoke today?
I don't know, $50 maybe.
$50 worth today?
Yeah.
How long have you been smoking crack for? How many years?
I'd say about 7.
One of the first things the police chief did when he took the job was start a street crime unit.
Face that way. Don't make any stupid moves.
They're arresting dozens and dozens and dozens of different crack dealers, and we're not talking 15-year-olds trafficking in drugs. We're talking 35, 40, 45-year-olds trafficking in crack cocaine. So I think we have to continue to attack those. That is our job as a police service, is to attack those street-level traffickers, I would argue, who are preying on the most vulnerable of all on our streets.
You know her? No. The guy in the red toque just gave her something.
Vulnerable, like this 16-year-old high on crack.
It's 2439. We're off at 305 Cumberland on a person check. If you want a name, please.
What shelter you?
They run her name through the computer. Nothing comes up.
What the hell's going on here?
But her much older boyfriend returns to take her away. And police predict it's girls like this who could soon become prostitutes. And that alarms the chief.
What scares me about it is these aren't someone else's kids. You look into their eyes, you look past the falling skin, the scabs, the cuts, and you see your kids, your nephews, your nieces, your neighbors' kids. These aren't someone else's kids.
How long have you been doing meth for?
It's not meth, it's crack.
And then there's Sean Paring.
Would you mind if I see your legs again? Yeah.
That's a direct result of all the meth that's mixed up with the crack, right?
Yeah. They make it in their bathtub. It could be anything, eh?
Basically any chemical product that they can find.
Barbiturates, whatever.
He's still on the edge. A bright kid who had the world by the tail. University educated, Sean played junior and university hockey. Then, 3 years ago, he started using cocaine. Last year, he switched to crack.
It was a rush. It was like no other. It was very intense and almost hallucinogenic, almost with sounds and your vision's off. Sounds are different. Like it's very quiet, and then they come rushing in, and everything seems quick. And I wanted to keep going and didn't want to stop really.
And now he says he can't stop. Most nights he sleeps at the Salvation Army. He still gets money from his family in Thunder Bay.
What was he like as a boy?
He was nice, always
a good boy, always happy.
His grandparents, Louis and Dolores Marcon, raised Sean. They've given him thousands of dollars, hoping he'd get the help he desperately needs.
When did you first start noticing that he was changing?
I think when he was in LU hockey, eh?
Yeah.
That's when.
And he moved off for a while and
come back. I started to notice lots of changes. His appearance, the way he kept his room.
Having Sean addicted and away, how hard has it been?
Oh, it's been terrible. It's not. It's just the broken promises all the time. He tells you one thing, and he promises, I won't do this, I won't do that, and then it only lasts a few hours and back to the same old stories again. It's been tough. It's been really hard.
Sean says he knows what he's done to his family, but he just can't help himself. He says the crack rules him.
It's ruined my life. It's taken away my family from me and put me in a situation where I can't be with the people I love, and you're looked down on from society. You're a different person. It's a drug that takes away your sense of loving and caring, and you just want the drug. The drug controls you. You're not a human being. You're a drug, It's you just become the drug, and it's whatever you do is for the drug.
If people could give you something, if society, if your friends, if your family could do something to help you, what is it that you need?
Being able to have a good treatment place, where availability and when you have to make that step is there for you, and support, big support. It's hard to get into treatment, and it's hard to get help.
You want some yogurt, this too?
No one knows that better than Paul Soucy.
How you guys doing, eh?
He runs the Good Shepherd shelter, and he says it takes months to get into long-term treatment.
Really, what we need is a treatment center so that if someone came to us and said, listen, I've made the decision, I want some help, that we could pick them up and we can immediately take them to that center and begin a process of helping them to get a hold of their lives. We don't have that, so guess what? Nothing happens. Everything stays static.
Just as controversial is the provincial government funding of harm reduction sites.
Can I get 20 1cc syringes, please?
Addicts drop by to get drug paraphernalia. Everything from clean needles to crack pipes.
Can I get you some water?
Please.
The experts say it stops the spread of HIV and hepatitis C.
You clean really well before you inject?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm sure we can.
Paul Levine administers the program for the Public Health Department.
The empirical evidence around harm reduction programs and services, looking at their effectiveness, does point out to the fact that these programs work.
I can't see how this helps. I can't see how this helps giving out a crack pipe. Initially, the response was, well, they're not sharing it. I can tell you that's not true. They're absolutely sharing their pipes.
A security camera in a hotel lobby shows that addicts still share the pipes and their germs.
It's beyond embarrassing, and I think we need to make a concerted effort, first of all, to influence government to change and start recognizing the health issue that this is.
The Ottawa police chief is so desperate that he phoned Premier Dalton McGuinty for help. The Premier grew up in Ottawa, and he is the MPP for Ottawa South.
I requested a meeting in the fall with the Premier during the election, actually just as the election started. I thought it was a good time to actually identify the issues. It's a downtown issue, really, and he's in the downtown area. And his campaign manager of the day called and said no, that the Premier wouldn't be meeting with me during the election, and possibly later. I've called back again later after the election, after they won, and received a voicemail saying that he was busy right now. So we're talking 10 months I've been here as the Chief of Police.
Premier Dalton McGuinty repeatedly refused to meet with W5 and referred us to Health Minister George Smitherman, who also refused to sit down with W5 to discuss the problem. So we finally caught up with the Premier in Sudbury.
How you doing, folks?
Premier, hi. Paula Todd, CTV.
Paul, I've seen you around before.
Have you? Listen, I got a quick question for you. How concerned are you about the crack and crime problem in your hometown of Ottawa?
Well, I'm always concerned as a parent about challenges associated with crime anywhere in the province.
Why won't you meet with the Ottawa Police Chief, Vern White? He's been trying to get your attention for 10 months. He wants to show you what a crisis is occurring there.
Look forward to meeting him.
But he would like to. He says he calls you and you're always too busy. Are you going to turn your back on the question?
Never.
But Premier, we have such a simple... Are you saying you're going to meet with him then? If he
While politicians ignore the problem, the virus of crime and crack continues to spread through the capital of Canada.
How are you, Kathy?
Hi, good. How are you guys?
Good, thanks.
And where did you find the pipe? Where did you get it?
I pick them up off the ground all the time.
Off the
There's
ground.
lots of them on the ground.
Where did you find that one?
That one over by the shelter.
This is something that it sneaks up on you, and you think everything's okay, and you think your neighborhood is great, and then one day you're going to stop, and you're going to stand on the street corner, and you're going to look around, and you're going to say, how the hell did this happen?
Johnny's waiting to do a toke. Okay, here we go. Dope and have some fun. Dope smoking 101.
The Ottawa Police Department has taken a special interest in Sean Perring, the hockey player originally from Thunder Bay. They are actively working on getting him into a residential treatment center. They believe there's a good chance he can get back on track. We'll be right back.
Next,
my family was attacked. I was attacked.
the devastating impact of internet bullies.
Every time you turn on the computer, you fear being victimized.
How more and more people who want to get even are doing it online. When CTV's W5 continues.
Welcome back. They hide inside an electronic world, and the damage they do can be devastating. Welcome to the world of the cyberbully. Like the bully we all remember from our school days, you know, the big kid who was always pushing the other kids around. Cyberbullies hone in on their victims in order to inflict their own brand of cruelty and ridicule. But unlike other bullies, as Sandy Rinaldo discovers in this report, the cyberbully's torment can extend far beyond the schoolyard.
David Knight doesn't seem like the kind of guy anyone would ever want to push around. He's 23. Life is good. He's got his hobby car, a university degree, and he's heading off to train with the Canadian Forces to be a fighter pilot. But things were very different when David was a boy in school.
I remember one day on the playground when I was in the 4th grade seeing a bunch of older kids picking on a little kid. And I basically told them, hey, pick on somebody your own size. Well, of course, they left that little kid alone and they came straight after me.
From that day onward, David was a target, a victim of bullying.
How bad did it get?
When it started in grade 4, it was a game. By the time I got to grade 12, I was being sent to the hospital with blood coming out of my ears because I had been so badly beaten.
Old-fashioned bullying, pushing, shoving, insults and threats. There's an incident like this one at a BC school, somewhere in a school playground every 7 minutes. But David's torment didn't stop at the school bell. It escalated from school hallways to the internet.
They had taken my picture, posted it on the top of this website, and underneath it they'd put, you know, welcome to the website that makes fun of Dave Knight. And when you clicked on the link to read the guest book, it was just full of pages and pages of comments. I mean, my family was attacked. I was attacked. I was accused of being a pedophile. I was accused of, my sister was called dirty. Pretty much the worst stuff a 16-year-old kid can think of to say.
And then there was this. Stop using date rape on little boys and then taking them in the back of your car. You are an ugly gay loser who has no life, no friends. It is called cyberbullying, but it doesn't just happen on the internet. Cyberbullying is any kind of electronic bullying, texting threats on a cell phone, or posting insults on the internet. In this electronic age, the opportunities are almost limitless.
Hi guys, how are you?
Psychologist Wendy Craig studies the effects of bullying here in a place she calls the Bully Lab at Queen's University. Her charts show old-fashioned bullying is bad, but cyberbullying is worse.
It's gossip gone high tech, but with much more devastating consequences because you have a broader audience. You don't know who that audience is. Every time you turn on the computer, you fear being victimized. And so the impact of being victimized by that kind of bullying is absolutely devastating.
Devastating, and for David, an attack on his last refuge.
When it changed Dave from being a physical threat to a cyberspace threat, was that even more frightening for you?
You see, the one thing about being beaten up at school is that at least you're at school from 9 o'clock in the morning until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then you can go home to your house where it's safe. Your parents are there, your family's there. You can switch off and forget about the fact that today you got picked up and dropped into a trash can. But when the bullies finally started using the internet to harass me, that ruined my sense of safety that I had at home.
Cyberbullying might start electronically away from school, but its effects follow the victim right here to the classroom. It works like this. Threats and nasty remarks are posted on the internet and passed from kid to kid through cyberspace. By the time the victim arrives at school the next day, he or she has no idea just how many students are in on the act.
Is it, the quiet, shy girl sitting next to you in class? Is it, the sports player at the front of the class? Is it the guy who was beating you up already? You don't know where it comes from. Psychologically, that's 10 times more punishing than any physical assault in a hallway.
Cyberbullying works because peers participate. If we take away that peer participation, the cyberbullying will no longer exist because it doesn't have the power. It doesn't have the power of the negative message being transmitted. It doesn't have the power of the support inherent when you pass on that negative message.
It's just one big pile of parts, so.
David's parents went to the school and police for help, but the bullying went on and on.
Why do you think nobody, not the school board, not the police, why do you think no one was able to help you during this horrible, horrible period in your life?
At times, I think people just wanted to sweep it under the rug and pretend it wasn't a problem.
But it wasn't just police and schools sweeping the problem under the rug. For 2 years, the internet service provider refused to pull the offensive site down until David's family threatened legal action. It was easy to bully online back then. Now, with social networking sites, it's even easier.
In today's world of Facebook and MySpace, it's incredibly easy to start a group, to start an event, to put up a page making fun of somebody.
Tiana Barbaza Cousineau knows what that feels like. She's 14 and she is being bullied online.
I started voicing my opinions on Facebook in this one application, Honesty Box. It's anonymous. I get all these messages saying you're a slut, you're a whore, you're fat, you don't deserve to be alive, just stop talking already, no one wants to hear you. One message said, you talk all the time about how sad you are, so why don't you just kill yourself already? And I took it seriously. I felt that there was something wrong with me.
What did you do?
I started cutting myself and starving myself.
Anybody know you were doing it?
Not for a while.
Who found out?
My friends found out when I was 12 or 13, and my parents found out a few months ago.
Just a few months ago?
Yeah.
Why didn't you go to them?
I didn't really feel like they could help me. I kind of took it upon myself to make everything better.
What about speaking to someone at school, a teacher, a principal, someone you could trust who might be able to help you?
I figured since it was anonymous and on Facebook, no one could really do anything, and I just eventually let them bully me all the time.
Why are you talking to us? Why are you being so honest with us about this?
I'm tired of pretending that everything's been all right, and I hope that someone else who's in my position will see this, and maybe that they won't turn out to be like me.
Like you, meaning?
Affected by the bullying and starting to hate myself. What do you like? Yeah, I like that one because it's kind of purple. And
Tiana's safe place is with her little sister.
Love these two? Yeah.
Her parents want school to be a safe place too, so they're asking the principal for help.
But I kind of like the purple because it's shiny.
2 essays due in 1 week, and then
6 years ago, David's parents took stronger steps, pulled David out of school, and launched a lawsuit against the school board and 3 bullies.
one of them settled with me a couple months into it, and he settled for an apology. He wrote me an apology letter, and that's all we were asking for. After 6 years of fighting with the school board, all we asked for them was an acknowledgement of the fact that this problem happened, and 6 years later, still nothing. The second bully, he never settled with us. He committed suicide. And the more I thought about that, the more I started to feel upset that I was let down because of all the abuse and all the torment that I suffered. But the bully who committed suicide was also let down because he didn't get the help he needed.
The people who were tormenting you, do they know you know who they are?
They might. I'm not sure. But a few of them have bullied me face to face as well. So I know that they know.
And what do you say to them?
I ignore them and just let them talk to me. And it's not really like they're hurting me or anything anymore.
David worries ignoring that pain will get harder and harder for teens to do.
As the internet's become more and more complicated and more advanced, so too is the bullying. And there is that fear, there was always that fear of, okay, well, even though this website's taken down, the content, the comments, the photographs, the pain from it is still out there.
Next,
I'm coming through here.
a popular online meeting place
It's not an option to say, just turn it off.
and the sometimes tragic consequences of electronic encounters.
There's nothing I can do to take back what I live with every day of my life.
When CTV's W5 continues.
OPP officer Robin McEachern is out on the beat, not solving crime, but preventing it, an elusive crime called cyberbullying.
The bullying through electronics happens anytime, anywhere, using any device. And we're just starting to understand how much of it there is because it's in a world where we don't always see it. How many of you guys have set your privacies on your Facebook?
Sergeant McEachern goes from school to school, talking to kids and teens about just how serious cyberbullying can get.
If I say to your face, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to find you today after school and I'm going to use such and such a method and I'm going to kill you. Or if I type it on an email. It's the same threat and it's a criminal offense to say that.
But the best place to reach teens is to go where they go. Here, to a virtual world, a world few adults know or understand.
We need to recognize that sitting in front of that computer screen is a risky situation. And the level of anonymity, the feeling of security sitting behind your own computer screen can really bring out a heightened level of violence, of sexuality and vulgarity behind that computer screen.
So Sergeant McEachern replaces her police uniform with a virtual image and goes online to answer questions about cyberbullying.
I'm coming through here. I have to maneuver through them to get close enough to open the bus door.
It's the OPP Info Bus, a virtual image in a virtual world. The doors of the bus open, and Sergeant McEachern is bombarded.
So they just said that all of them have at some point in time seen someone being bullied online.
Kids starve for guidance, clamor to tell their stories, confessions from a potentially dangerous and nearly adult-free online world.
Oh, she sent her a link to a website, and she clicked it, and she was on it. And it said underneath, we can't give our kids a world where there's no adult supervision and there's no help for them. It's not an option to say, just turn it off. First of all, that cuts the young person off from their social network. And those social communities are so important to how a young person functions that shutting them off from their social network is like saying, well, you've done something wrong and I'm going to make you a victim again.
So instead of telling teens to turn the internet off, adults need to turn it on and figure out what's happening to kids online.
Well, we need to have parents engaged. That just because your child looks physically safe sitting in front of a computer monitor in your home, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are.
The numbers are shocking. In Canada, 1 in 5 boys and 1 in 3 girls reports being involved in some form of cyberbullying. And that means sending threats, taunts, name-calling over the internet, by email, even using a cell phone. The figures rank this country as one of the worst in the world, with rates even higher than in the United States. And make no mistake, electronic bullying is not harmless child's play. Cindy Wesley knows all too well just how devastating bullying on a cell phone can be. Her 14-year-old daughter was a victim.
Dawn Marie was your typical 14-year-old. She had goals. She had dreams. She didn't need to be the most popular kid in school, but she needed to know that her friends were her friends.
Kyla Dunn considered herself one of those friends and more, the one protecting Dawn from kids tormenting her.
Every day she smiled. Every day she was happy. I felt like I needed to protect that because she was a great person and all these people were making her cry all the time.
But one fateful day, that friendship took a terrible turn. November 10, 2000, Mission, BC. 3 girls, including Kyla, met in the woods. One of the girls, called DW, is spreading rumors about Kyla, and Kyla wants to settle the score. But DW blames the rumors on Dawn Marie and calls her on the cell phone.
And then she said, here, somebody wants to talk to you. And she handed the phone to me. As soon as I got the phone, she was in sobs. And I said, Dawn, I said, honey, stop crying. I said, stop crying. Please just stop crying.
But frightened and alone, Dawn Marie was sure the girls were after her, certain her friend Kyla had turned on her and was going to kill her.
She sounded scared. She sounded so scared. I remember her just like crying and just saying, I'm sorry, and I'm sorry. And she just kept crying. And I kept saying, you don't have to be sorry.
Yeah, I know. Kyla tried to tell Dawn Marie she wasn't blaming her, but Kyla will never know if she might have convinced her friend, because that's when DW grabbed the phone back.
She grabbed her cell phone and with an angry, angry look on her face said, if I get beat up for this, she's like, you're f***ing dead.
The last words Dawn Marie heard. Then, terrified and in despair, seeing no way out, Dawn Marie committed suicide, hanged herself with her dog's leash, and left behind this suicide note.
Dear Mom and Dad, I'm sorry. I love you all so much, but I can't live anymore. DW has too many people coming after me that are going to kill me anyway. I never knew it would get this far, but I'm so depressed it's killing me, Mom. If I tried to get help, it would have gotten worse. They are always looking for a new person to beat up, and these are the toughest girls. If I ratted, I would get them kicked out of school, and then there's nothing stopping them. So that's all. I love you all so much. Love always, Dawn Marie.
Police charged 3 girls, including Kyla Dunn, with harassing and uttering threats. It was the first time in Canada charges were laid in a bullying case.
Talking to her on the phone was my biggest mistake. I couldn't take it back. And she felt like all these people were going to hurt her. And when this happened, I felt like I had been in her home and taken her life myself.
2 girls were convicted, 1 was acquitted. That girl was Kyla Dunn. But that brought Kyla little comfort.
I didn't even look at my own reflection in the mirror because I hated myself so much.
You eat it too much. Won't you play with me? Please.
But even though Kyla's grown up now and has a family of her own, not a day passes that she doesn't feel responsible for Dawn Marie's death.
There's nothing I can do now to replace her or to take back what I live with every day of my life.
Cindy, what do you think Dawn Marie's legacy will be? What do you want it to be?
I want a lot of healing for youth. I want to educate, empower, and encourage youth to change their behaviors because of what happened to Dawn Marie. That is her legacy. My name is Cindy Wesley, and I'm here this evening to talk about the seriousness of bullying and suicide prevention.
Cindy tirelessly gives talk after talk, fulfilling her little girl's legacy.
One thing was very clear in all of this, and that was there was a lot of bystanders.
Clearly, her girlfriends knew she was being tormented. Did the school know she was being tormented? Did they do anything about that?
Personally, I believe the school knew. Do I believe that she told the school? I do. Do I believe the school did their part? No.
Cindy isn't alone thinking schools failed to do their part. David Knight, the boy who was bullied in the schoolyard and online, says he saw anti-bully programs come and go, but they didn't stop the attacks.
Or when I was in elementary school, there was the Zero Tolerance, there was the Safe Schools Act, there was all of these plans that the kids just laughed at. I mean, zero tolerance didn't mean zero tolerance to the kids. I remember one of the bullies telling me on the internet that he was going to knock me unconscious the next day at school. And I told him, I said, well, you can't do that. I said, you'll go to jail. And his response to me was, I'm a young offender. They can't touch me. I'll get a small slap on the wrist and it'll be well worth it to see you unconscious.
Now, Ontario has a new law to stop bullying. And Education Minister Kathleen Wynne says it's going to work because this law gives schools power to step in, even when the bullying happens away from school.
What we've done in the legislation is we've provided for behaviors that happen off school property but have an impact on school climate. So, in fact, a principal can respond to a behavior that may have taken place at home but may have begun at school and may continue at school.
And if cyberbullying gets serious, schools can take serious action. Under the new regulations, schools can suspend bullies for up to 21 days. Tough rules that might save the next little girl, but come too late to save Dawn Marie.
People always tell me she's in a better place. But as a mom who loves your children, how does a child be in a better place without you? That's something I have to live with every day.
We'll be right back. And now a look ahead to our next edition of W5.
This is horrible. It's pure filth.
Cockroaches and crumbling walls.
The city owns these buildings.
Taxpayer funded to help the poor.
They don't care about nobody.
And a breeding ground for violent crime.
I just stay here and keep the door locked.
If this Canadian city can't clean it up,
We don't manufacture money.
who will defend the defenseless?
We're herded like cattle. They want us to go away.
And that's next week on W5. And that's our program for this week. Remember, you can also find us on the internet at w5.ctv.ca. There you can learn more about our stories, even watch them again. Until next week, I'm Lloyd Robertson. On behalf of all of us at W5, thank you for watching.